"Oh, thank you," the nurse said as I passed her the bear. She took in my uniform, distinct from the other nurses, designed to set Norlanders apart from the rest. Beneath a smart brown cloak, I wore a fawn drill dress with a white cambric apron edged with lace. At my throat, a frothy cream tie completed the summer uniform. In winter, we wore light blue serge, and all year round we did our heavy work in pink galatea, cleaning the nursery and making up fires. "I wish she went off like that," said the nurse. She nodded at the occupant of her pram, a slim, serious-looking child a little older than Georgina, who glared at me from beneath a white sun hat. "How old?" "She's 17 months," I replied. "And look at her lovely curls. It's a shame this one's hair's so straight." "She pulls out her rags when I put them in." "You could try setting them when she's asleep. If you wet the rags first, it'll dry like that." The nurse brightened. "That's an idea." I said goodbye and she returned to her book. We passed through Albert Gate, where black stags stood guard on the park railings, and I smiled at the old woman who sold windmills and toy balloons. The windmills waited rigidly in their crates for a breeze to stir them that August afternoon, and the woman spun one half-heartedly. She never smiled back, but I suppose I looked much the same to her as all the other nurses. We flocked to the park after lunch with our charges, occupying the lawns and benches, spreading blankets on the grass, feeding the ducks and pushing prams through the rose gardens. An hour or two later we'd pass her again, heading home for naps and paste sandwiches before taking the children downstairs to see their parents. Georgina was the only child of Audrey and Dennis Radlett, though Mrs. Radlett was expecting again. I'd laundered Georgina's linens in readiness and circled cots in catalogues to show Mrs. Radlett. Georgina would still be in hers when the baby came. The new arrival excited me, though I was yet to find a monthly nurse for feeding, and the prospect of sharing my nursery, even for a few weeks, caused a distant flutter of anxiety. For the top floor of number 6 Perivale Gardens was my kingdom, my domain. My office, schoolroom, and workshop. Sometimes it was a tea room, if Georgina wished to give her toys refreshment. Occasionally it was a jungle, and the two of us would crawl on our knees on the carpet, hunting for lions and tigers. Georgina's hand opened, causing the daisies to scatter over her blanket, and deftly I swept them up and put them in my pocket. On the nursery windowsill, I'd arranged in jars the flowers we'd picked in the park, and I was teaching Georgina their names. Georgina already had an impressive vocabulary, quietly absorbing as I pointed at plates and spoons and toys and stamps. "Tag!" she'd declared one afternoon a few weeks ago, straining out of her pram to point at the Albert Gate stags. I'd felt a rush of pride and love for this cheerful, confident little girl who everybody adored when they met, and who reflected adoration back at them. On Knightsbridge, motor cars growled past carriages and choked the road with fumes. I glanced about at the red brick apartment buildings, the hot potato man, the green Bayswater omnibus, and the Chinese laundryman unloading fresh linen from his cart. Crossing sweepers stepped aside for ladies in wide hats on their way home from department stores, tailed by their maids laden with boxes. Perivale Gardens was a large, quiet square a few minutes from the busy thoroughfare. A score of houses stood around an oblong lawn, guarded by black iron railings and painted with cedars and rhododendrons. The Radlett home was tall and stuccoed, with smooth white columns flanking a glossy black door. At the top was the nursery, which overlooked the long and sunny garden and the neighbours' gardens either side. The bowlers next door kept hens and sometimes let Georgina collect the eggs. The hall was empty.